Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Olivia. I'm a gender affirming voice teacher, and today I am going to be continuing my series where I break down the voices of different celebrities. Today we're going to be looking at Cate Blanchett's voice, and she has a very unique voice. You probably know her from Lord of the Rings, or I don't even know what else she's been in, but she's won many Academy Awards. And she's a big deal. Her voice has always struck me as unique, so I'm excited to take a little closer look at her voice. Actors are used to having to change their voices for roles, so I found a little interview with Cate where she talks a little bit about that.
I had a friend come round, an Australian friend, and she said, "Oh, you sound really English." I said, "No, I don't." And she said, "No, you sound really English." And then sometimes when I'm in America, my children die. 1,000 deaths of 1,000 cuts when I'm speaking to American friends because I start to take on a slightly and I hate it about myself.
Yeah.
I had this dream where someone said to me, "Would you please just find your own voice? Would you please just speak in your own voice?" And I don't know what that is anymore. I mean, because when I started out in the industry, there wasn't a lot of call for actors working internationally to speak with an Australian accent.
And did you have a very much thicker Australian accent than you have now? Or?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I mean, going to drama school, you're encouraged to, and that's not the only route to becoming an actor by any stretch of the imagination. But for me, it was really useful. But you're encouraged to develop your voice, your physicality as being a flexible, malleable thing. So I've always treated it as that.
My goal with this series is always to help you open your ears to the different elements of the voice and other people's voices so that you can work toward being more aware of those elements in your own voice as you practice. So we're going to be listening for 4 different elements. The first one is vocal fry, and that is that sound that we get oftentimes at the ends of sentences or phrases that sounds like this. Second, we're going to be listening for pitch and intonation. So how high or low her pitch is and how much her pitch is moving up and down. We're also going to be using software I use called Pratt to take a look at how high and low her pitch is. Next, we're going to be listening for resonance. And resonance is all about how bright or dark a sound is. And that depends on the shape of the vocal tract. So how big or small the vocal tract is. So bright sounds are more feminine perceived generally. Darker sounds are more masculine perceived. So the difference would be something like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So brighter versus darker. And finally, we're going to listen for vocal weight. And vocal weight is all about how heavy a voice sounds or how light a voice sounds. And this happens at the level of the vocal cords. So how much engagement we're getting from the vocal cords, if they're spending more time touching or if there's more mass of the vocal cords versus less time touching as they're vibrating. And that results in that lighter sound. So I'm going to play the exact same clip 4 times, and each time we're going to be listening for one of those elements. So this first time, I just want you to listen for vocal fry.
It is a movie, as you say, and the stakes are really high, and they would do. It's so romantic. They would do anything for each other. They would die for each other, and they both work at espionage, and so of course there's so many things that they can't tell one another. And I love the whole thing about a relationship having a black bag. Meaning that in the spy bag, you put all the secrets, and once it's locked up, you can't tell anyone.
I actually do hear a little bit of vocal fry in Kate's voice. It's subtle, but it's there. It's just kind of a relaxed, slightly gravelly sound at some of the ends of her phrases, but it doesn't linger or carry on the way that maybe like a Kardashian kind of sound would be, like, oh my God, that it lingers on that. Just maybe, oh my God, a little bit of light graveliness in there. So it tells me she's kind of comfortable in the pitch range that she's in and that she's using her breath support pretty sufficiently. And that makes sense for an actor who's spent time, I think she spent time on doing stage work as well. Makes a lot of sense that she's got good control over her breath. So now let's listen for pitch and intonation.
It is a movie, as you say, and the stakes are really high, and they would do. It's so romantic. They would do anything for each other. They would die for each other, and they both work at espionage, and so of course there's so many things that they can't tell one another. And I love the whole thing about a relationship having a black bag, meaning that in the spy bag, you put all the secrets, and once it's locked up, you can't tell anyone.
So as I'm just listening to her voice, I definitely think that she sits on the lower end of pitch. She's sort of in that chest dominant range. And if you're not sure what I mean by chest dominant, I'm talking about vocal registers. So we have ranges of pitches in our voices that basically where our vocal cords are functioning a certain way to achieve that sound quality. And if you're interested in learning more about registers, I do have a video that I will link for you. So I think obviously that again, great for an actor to be able to move your pitch high and low and express and emote different emotions. So let's take a look at her pitch in Pratt. Okay, so if we take a look at this clip, we can see her pitch down here. And you can see actually her pitch. If we click over here, we'll come up here on the right hand side in this blue here. So if we look at the very end to start, so we see that it starts out, so we see that it ends down there at an 89.94 hertz. So ends quite low. And it looks like she's starting around 244 hertz. So coming around that 240 to 270 mark, and then the lower end coming down here 85-ish. So quite a large range. If we look here at her minimum pitch, looks like it's a 73.89 hertz. And her maximum pitch, it says 398. Now, I don't believe that one because as I was listening to this clip, I think it's picking up some of these, which are extra sounds that are not her voice. So I'm going to ignore that. So we'll take then the average pitch with a small grain of salt because they are including that. But it looks like 143.78 average. So I would probably put it a little bit lower than that because of those high pitches throwing things off. So really the highest I would say in her speech is about 286 is about the highest. And the lowest coming down to like that 89 or 80, 70 something where so quite low. So if we kind of just do an average pitch line through here, that might be something like 100 might be more like her average. 100 to 141-ish. Really very much on the low end as far as cisgender women's voices. But definitely still a very feminine voice. When we think about the amount of intonation, obviously we see the movement up here, and there's a little bit here and there, but a lot of it's coming down lower. So I wouldn't say that she has the most intonation that I've heard. I think it's a little bit flatter with popping up to some of these 200 zone pitches when she's emphasizing something. Now let's listen for resonance.
It is a movie, as you say, and the stakes are really high, and they would do. It's so romantic. They would do anything for each other. They would die for each other, and they both work at espionage, and so of course there's so many things that they can't tell one another. And I love the whole thing about a relationship having a black bag, meaning that in the spy bag, you put all the secrets, and once it's locked up, you can't tell anyone.
So I think Cate's resonance is somewhere in the middle. It's not super overly bright, but it's not super dark either. It's definitely not a dark voice, I wouldn't say. But I think that it can trick your ear when the voice is on the lower end, and you might think, oh, that's a dark voice too, but not necessarily. I think the thing that I'm really noticing about her is like she's just like relaxed. She just has sort of a relaxed way of talking and being. She's just kind of cool presence. So I think that relaxation really gives you the control. And I think that's something to always remember because I think when we think about controlling our voice, oftentimes that introduces a lot of tension and we're squeezing and we're controlling and we're doing this to get that. And a lot of times what we need to do is actually do the opposite and relax so that we can be more aware of our instrument and gain more control. So I think that that's definitely something to put in your back pocket. So finally, let's listen for vocal weight.
It is a movie, as you say, and the stakes are really high, and they would do. It's so romantic. They would do anything for each other. They would die for each other, and they both work at espionage, and so of course, you know, there's so many things that they can't tell one another. And I love the whole thing about a relationship having a black bag, meaning that in the spy bag you put all the secrets, and once it's locked up, you can't tell anyone.
I would say that Cate is on the heavier side of vocal weight, but not always. I think she lightens things up when she comes out of that lower pitch range. But you can hear those sort of bassy sounds. There's kind of a heavier quality to it where you can hear that mass of the vocal cords. She definitely has like a depth to her voice. It's like almost like sort of like a sensual voice. I think that sort of like relaxed, like sort of sexy quality to it. I feel like I'd say she has a resonant voice. Like you feel like her voice has presence and would carry. She sounds confident and like sort of grounded in her body with her voice and sort of deliberate. I think the other thing that sticks out to me is her articulation as well, that's kind of forward and clear. So even when the pitch is a little bit lower or the vocal weight is a little heavier, we get this kind of clear articulation, you know. I think actor business. But I think that really gives the feminine perceived quality to her voice. So overall, I would say that Cate Blanchett's voice is a great example of a warm, powerful voice with presence. So I think this demonstrates, like in a lot of my other videos, that you don't necessarily have to have a super high voice to be perceived as feminine. And there's so many different ways that you could express femininity within a voice. But I think the thing that strikes me the most about Cate is just like her relaxation and her very clear control without over controlling. You know, she's stepping back and just kind of being there and allowing things to move rather than overly trying to change them. So I think that's a lesson just in life, isn't it? Let's just step back. I don't know. I need that lesson, I think. I'm working on it. I'm really trying to meditate, you know? So it's about expressiveness, it's about relaxation, it's about kind of letting your voice, kind of following your voice more than kind of controlling your voice and letting your voice follow you. So I think that that's a good lesson. So let me know what you think about all of that. Let me know what you think about Cate's voice down in the comments. Do you hear the same things I do? Do you hear different things? And I also want you to let me know who you'd like me to analyze next. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more vocal breakdowns like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.